Welcome to Miss Etta's Academic Corner. How are you doing tonight? It's good to see you again. What kind of day did you have today? I hope it was a great one. So listen, we're going to get started at Miss Etta's Academic Corner. If you wear glasses, remember to take them off, clean them with a cloth so that you're able to see the screen well. And if you have anything to drink, make sure you put it aside. That way you don't spill it. If you have your pajamas on, that's even better because that means you're all comfy in bed. That's good. Hey, how you doing? We have Judah the Lion with us today. Let us see you roar, roar. How you doing, Judah? I'm doing fine. Okay, Judah's doing great. So, tonight we are going to read a book called Curious George and the Puppies. You see George, you see all the puppies, different colors, different sizes. Remember, you take a look at your book when you first get it, and we see that this is a soft covered book. And what colors do you see? We see yellow, blue, red, brown, gray, light brown. And it says here, bonus activities inside. So that way we know that there's things here that you can do, right? Now it says too that the book is written by Margaret and H.A. Rays. So let's open this book and see what it has for us today. Yeah. This is George. George was a good little monkey and always very curious. One day, George went for a walk with his friend, who is the man with the yellow hat. There you go. When they sat down to rest, they noticed a tiny kitten peeking out from under a bush. The kitten looked frightened. "Perhaps she is lost," said the man with the yellow hat. Together he and George searched the park for the little kitten's owner, but the kitten was all alone. Yeah, I guess he would be frightened, or she would be frightened, if she was all alone. "This kitten is too young to be on her own," the man said. "We should take her to the animal shelter, where they can care for her and find her a home." So George and the kitten and the man with the yellow hat drove to the animal shelter. So I think that's a pretty good thing to do. If you find a lost animal and you can't find their parents, it's good to take them to the animal shelter so that they can help them. The director of the shelter was glad to see them. "It was good of you to bring the kitten here," she said. "We will be happy to take care of her." George gave the kitten to the director. Then he and the man with the yellow hat walked inside. "Come in," the director said, "but watch where you step. We have a large litter of puppies and one has gotten out of the cage. We're still looking for him, so please be careful." She closed the door quickly behind them. So that's the animal shelter. The lady is the director. George gives her the kitten, and she's got to close that door real quick because one of the puppies is loose. She closed the door quickly behind them. Make sure we turn one page. George had never been to an animal shelter. Animals of all kinds were being cared for. George saw bunnies and cats, turtles and guinea pigs. He even saw a snake, but he didn't see any puppies. Have you ever been to an animal shelter? They've got all kinds of animals, and they take care of them, especially when they don't have any parents to take care of them. See them? The raccoon. Look at all the animals in the cages. And they got to put them in the cages because they got to stay safe. And I'm sure they take them out to feed them or play with them, at least some of the animals. George, I need to sign some papers, said the man with the yellow hat. Please stay here and don't be too curious. Just as the man with the yellow hat left the room, George heard barking. Maybe it was the puppies, but where was it coming from? George was curious. He followed the noises. Man is telling George to stay put. See the little knocking on the door? What kind of sound does a dog make or puppies make? Can you tell us, Judah the lion? That's right. Woof, woof. Some make woof, woof, and some go woof, woof. They make all kinds of sounds, depending on if they're happy, sad, frightened. George found a room full of dogs. There were yellow dogs, spotted dogs, sleek dogs, fluffy dogs. There were quiet dogs and yappy dogs, and even a dog without a tail. But where were the puppies? Then George saw a little wagging tail, then another, and another. So on this side we have the different colored dogs, but here we see the puppies. Some of you may have a puppy at home. That's cool. Or even the dog. That's cool too. Once George saw the puppies, he could not take his eyes off of them. He had to pet one. Here was a puppy. The puppy liked George. George wanted to hold the puppy. Slowly he opened the door. Whoa! Do you think that was a good idea, boys and girls? Should George have opened that door? I don't think so. George wanted to hold the puppy. Slowly he opened the door, but before George could even reach the puppy, the mother dog pushed the door open, and it was off like a shot. George tried to close the door after her, but the puppies were too fast. There was nothing George could do. So remember, George wanted to pet one, and he cracked that door open, and once they saw that door opening, ooh, they ran out, took off. George might be in trouble. Puppies were everywhere. Puppies hid under the desk. Puppies barked at bunnies. One puppy played with a telephone cord, and another climbed on top of a cage to watch the others get into mischief. Well, okay, mischief, what does that mean? That means to get into trouble, to do things they're not supposed to do. Soon all the dogs were barking, the cats were meowing, and the bunnies wrestled into the corner of their cage. Woo, sounds like one hot mess up in here. Dogs, the puppies are all over the place. Cabinets, under things. Running, barking. Nobody's where they're supposed to be. They're even in the sink. You see that? One of them is in the sink. Good thing the water's not on. Oh no, cried the director as she and the man with the yellow hat rushed into the room. Now all the puppies are out. The man with the yellow hat helped the director gather up the puppies and put them safely back in their cage. Soon all the animals settled down and were quiet. So they had a few minutes of fun running around. So now it's time to get back in those cages. Dogs, like people, need to exercise. Maybe they need to run, take a run and exercise. Okay, except for one who was still barking. It was the mother dog. What was she barking at? There was nothing here but a door. Okay, let's take a guess. What do you think is behind the door? Why is the mother dog barking like that? There must be something on the other side. He opened the door. George opened the door. See the puppy barking? George opened the door, right? Take a guess. What do you think is on the other side of the door that the mother puppy would be barking like that? It must be what? Take a guess. Come on. That's right. It was the missing puppy. Everyone was happy to finally find the puppy. The director swooped him up, and George, you certainly caused a ruckus. But if you hadn't let the puppies out, we might still be searching for this little one. Then she gave the puppies and their mother a snack. These puppies are now big enough to go live with their families, who will take care of them, she said. Do you want to take one home with George? See, they found the missing puppy. Everybody's happy. And as usual, even when George kind of gets into trouble, he saves the day. Did George take a puppy home? What do you think, boys and girls? What do you think, Judah? He sure did. Now, on the other side of the book, this is the end, but what it has here is 5 helpful puppy training tips. That way, if you get a puppy or you have a puppy, is ways to train your puppy to be good and not to get into trouble and not to do things that it shouldn't do. Okay? Or he or she. And then there's another game on the back. So, as usual, even though George kind of did something he shouldn't have done, he saved the day. So that's a good story we had tonight with Curious George and the Puppies. Fun book. Not necessarily one that's a lesson, but it's a fun book. But the lesson is, don't open doors without permission. Be careful because you don't know what's on the other side of it. It worked out for George, but that doesn't mean it'll always work out. So be real careful. If you don't know what's on the other side of the door, boys and girls, try not to open it. Make sure you get your parents' permission. Good night.